So this is pretty interesting. This is the Acer Predator Triton 14 AI. This is a premium 14-inch lightweight gaming laptop that's going to compete with something like this. This is the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14, one of the premier 14-inch laptops on the market, one of the more popular ones. Of course, I'll leave a link to my video in the description below. But we're going to talk about this today, and we're going to compare them. But premium all-metal build. It has a pretty unique combination here that we haven't seen before. A Lunar Lake processor, the Core Ultra 9 288V, with a discrete GPU. This is probably the first time we've seen that. It's got the RTX 5070 GPU in this. So we're going to hopefully get some good CPU GPU combination. Hopefully the Lunar Lake will have some efficiency when it comes to battery life, although spoiler, the battery could have been better in my opinion, but that's just me. Since we have seen a lot of Lunar Lake laptops in the past, this certainly doesn't have that kind of battery life, although not bad. It's just not going to get those levels we've seen on some of the ultra portables that we looked at. But it does have an OLED display. It does have a lot of unique features. It even has a touchpad, a haptic touchpad, actually worked out quite well. That also has pen support in the touchpad, although it's got a touch screen here, but it doesn't have pen support on the display. Kind of weird, kind of unusual, a little bit different, but could be pretty useful for signing documents, PDF, signing your name on a contract and stuff, so that may be good. It's good for creative work. We'll see how that does in video editing, and we'll get into the gaming performance and everything we do on these 14-inch gaming laptops when we take a look at them. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the Acer Predator Triton 14 AI, brand new for 2025, coming up. All right, let's start off with the build and design here. And this is a premium all-metal build. It's very, very well made. And Acer did a great job here. It is very MacBook or Apple-esque in that, and very little give or flex on this lid here or in the chassis in general. Very good. I mean, there's hardly any flex here. They did a fantastic job. This is all metal. This is glass. This is where the haptic touchpad is, and there is some delineation, and it lights up when you're using it. We'll show you that in a little bit. Keyboard is really well laid out. I think this is a good overall implementation of a keyboard and touchpad here, and we'll talk about that in that section of the video. Now, there's a little bit of screen wobble here, but you know, let's see if we can open it with one finger. You have to sort of get it started, but yeah, you can. So well engineered here. And then of course, check out that screen wobble. Not too bad. When you're typing, there's minimal screen wobble, so that has been pretty good. All right, let's get a measurement of the weight with just the unit alone, 1.584 kilograms, and that is 3 pounds, 7.9 ounces. Now, if we add in the power supply, and that's 140 watts, it's USB Type-C. Let's put that on here. The total weight for travel is 4 pounds, 8 ounces on the dot, and that would be 2.042 kilograms for a travel weight. And then if I add in the pen, that adds in a little bit of weight there, 2.058 kilograms. And in pounds, that would be 4 pounds, 8.7 ounces for a total travel weight. Now, let's get into the ports on this, and we're going to start off on the left side where you get a USB Type-C. There's a USB-A and a 3.5 millimeter microphone headphone combo jack on the left side there. On the right side is a micro SD card reader, a USB Type-C. I believe that one is Thunderbolt 4, a USB-A, and an HDMI 2.1. But I also like the fact that the two USB-C ports are split up, one on each side, making it more convenient. And I just did confirm the one on the right side is the Thunderbolt 4, 40 gigabits per second, and the one on the left is USB-C 3.2 Gen 2. That means it is 10 gigabits per second. They are both full function for those wondering. All right, so this is the keyboard over here, and as you can see, RGB backlighting. It is multicolored here. You can control that in the settings. Looks pretty cool, but of course, you can go to a solid color. You don't have to have all this flashing lights and all that. You can see it here, but I just wanted to show you its full capabilities here. The keyboard obviously is feeling good. The keys feel pretty good. They got good tactility, good feedback, overall good key travel. They are chiclet style keys. Let's give it a listen to see how it sounds when you're typing. All right, not too bad. 96% accuracy. I did 80 words per minute, so I will get better as I use it more and more, but not too bad. Really good keyboard here. Okay, so this is a touch layer, obviously something you don't get on, say, like the G14 or the Razer Blade 14, some of its competitors. So this is something that differentiates it, makes it pretty unique. And of course, you could do pinch to zoom and all that stuff that comes with a multi-touch layer. Now, this is not a touch screen that also has pen support. So that is one thing you need to keep in mind here. They do supply you with the pen. So you might be asking, well, why is there a pen when there's no pen layer on the display? It says finger touch only, actually, right there. That's because the touchpad doubles or does have a touch layer, I should say. And you can actually do scrolling and stuff like that. You can get a good look at it over here. That's pretty interesting, something a little bit different. And what this will allow you to do is mark up PDFs, sign PDFs or sign contracts, stuff like that, make diagrams or sketch out artwork, whatever it is that you might do with a pen. But of course, it doesn't work on the display. So a little bit of a strange inclusion here, but an exclusion on the display. So I don't know, they could have maybe put a pen layer on that and have this also here as an option. That would have been great. But this actually is pretty responsive in terms of this haptic touchpad when it comes to using this pen. And if I bring up, see, I'm trying to use it, and it even says it here, finger touch only. And by the way, there is a button here that allows you to go to the different modes. You got balance mode, and then of course you got turbo, you got eco, and all that stuff. So that allows you to change it on the fly with this button, which also has an LED light in it. And the Microsoft Journal app is actually pretty good. I had to download it from the store here, and you can actually scroll over here and do all that stuff there and just tap to click. But again, not as, it's hard to do it with the pen. I got to get used to that. So I'll just use my finger there on this haptic touchpad. But what's kind of crazy is I can actually use this pen here if I don't get all these pop-ups coming in here. So I can just go over here and just start like taking notes and so forth, signing my name, doing all sorts of stuff there. And you can move things around there. So, would I prefer the display? Probably, but pretty interesting nonetheless. So something different. Hey, they're trying something different. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Now, as far as the pen, this is the pen that came in the box, and it does have a buttons on it here, and it doesn't have an eraser top or anything like that. It uses one quadruple A battery, and it uses the Microsoft Pen Protocol technology. So it is the same as a Surface Pen for those. So you can change it out, use different pens. Again, this is only working with the touchpad. It does not have a pen layer as far as the display. Finger touch only, it says there. They made sure you knew about it right there. So just wanted to point that out. Now, one thing with this touchpad, it's really good. It has delineations that light up when you use it and then go off when you're not using it. One little problem I found with this so far is, while it's very responsive, the haptic engine, the feedback is really good. I did notice that sometimes I got inadvertent clicks and I would be scrolling to different pages by accident when I was typing, say on the monkey type to test the typing of the keyboard as I rested my palm on here, and it got an inadvertent click. So I don't know if I have to change the settings of the intensity and see if that might help, or a firmware update might help. But that is one thing that was a little bit annoying. That would happen occasionally, not all the time, but it would only be when I would rest my palm right here and start typing, and couple of times it did that. So I'll keep my eye on that and report it long term to see if that is a big issue. So far it's intermittent, but maybe a firmware update or to change the settings might fix that. I have to investigate that more. But overall, pretty good touchpad here as far as a haptic touchpad, as far as scrolling, doing all the gestures, everything works. It's actually really responsive. So I'm actually happy with that. I just need to figure out the settings to maybe do away with some of these inadvertent clicks. All right, let's talk about this display. 14.5 inches OLED or OLED display, 2880 by 1800. It has a multi-touch layer on it, no pen support. We'll get into that, of course, but this is a really fantastic display. I think they did a good job here. Now, it is a very glossy display. You can get a look at there, the reflections here. So I wish it was a little bit more of an anti-reflective coating on it. That being said, it gets about 400 nits of brightness. It can peak about 500 nits in HDR or something like that. So it's not bad, although, again, this is a very glossy display. It is a touch display as well, so pinch to zoom, scrolling with your finger with the OS works very well. All that stuff will work on this, so not an issue there. Now, as far as the coverage of the color gamut. It is excellent. It is also a color accurate display. So if you're going to do content creation in Lightroom, Photoshop, video editing, Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, this is an excellent choice because it has those features. Now, as far as watching high dynamic range content in Netflix, Amazon, YouTube has been excellent on this. So it is a really nice display. It's also got a 120 hertz refresh rate. I didn't see it dynamic or anything like that. So you can go either 60 or 120. There is no dynamic refresh rate on this like you get on the ROG Zephyrus G14, one of its competitors. So I would say that's pretty good. 120 hertz will give you that very smooth, very fluid experience when you're scrolling, doing all kinds of things with this, especially when you're scrolling with this haptic touchpad. So it worked out really well. But this display is really good. I would say they hit a pretty much of a home run here. Would like to see a matte option on it, especially gaming. You want not as many reflections, I guess. So that might be the one criticism I have on it. And of course, with any OLED display, you might have to worry about things like PWM or screen flickering. And of course, screen burn-in if you leave a static image long enough. I didn't experience any of that on this Acer. So just wanted to bring that up. Now, when you compare it to its competitors like the Razer Blade 14 and the G14 from Asus, these are very different in some ways because, yes, while they use OLED displays, they do not have a touch layer that this does have. So if you're a content creator who wants to do Photoshop and you want to use zoom, pinch to zoom, stuff like that, you have that option. You have the option to use the pen on the haptic touchpad. That's a little bit of a differentiator between some of its competition. So it's more of a creator's laptop than a gaming laptop when you look at what the G14 brings to the table and what the Blade 14 brings to the table, some of its competitors, and of course the Omen 14, more gaming focused, I think. This is more of a hybrid between a creator laptop and a gaming laptop. At least that's the takeaway I get from using this for the past week or so. So again, what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments section below. Let's talk performance here. And obviously, this is not going to be as powerful as the G14, which has a Strix point, the Ryzen AI 9 HX370. This is going to have Lunar Lake. We've seen Lunar Lake, so we know what to expect. We're not going to be blown away by single or multi-core performance in the synthetic benchmarks. What does that mean in real-world usage? It means this. It means you won't notice a difference. Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, it all works well, fluid, no slowdowns, no hiccups whatsoever. You will not notice a difference in a Word document between the two. I could guarantee you that. Now, where you will notice the difference is in the graphics. Now, of course, usually we see Lunar Lake paired with its integrated solution, the 140V, which is, of course, is what this has, ARC graphics. But it does have a discrete GPU, and this is what differentiates this from something like a ultra portable, like we looked at, say, the Surface laptop, which doesn't have a discrete GPU. And this is the RTX 5070 from NVIDIA. Now, it's fed 110 watts of power, and it performed like you would expect. It's not going to blow you away, but it's certainly going to boost any kind of creative work in terms of Photoshop, Lightroom, video editing in Premiere Pro, and DaVinci Resolve. And as you can see, I ran the Puget Bench DaVinci Resolve benchmark, and it did very well. Now, I have the 5080 that's fed 110 watts on the G14, and that's going to do better. And as you can see, the 3D Mark scores, Time Spy, Firestrike, Wildlife Extreme are going to do better on the G14 because it has the 5080. Now, they offer other variations of that, the 5070 Ti and others. That might be the sweet spot, by the way, for the G14. I think you get the most bang for your buck for that one. But this one, the 5070, not the Ti, but it's the 5070, did very well for that. Now, you can game on this. This is certainly a gaming laptop. Of course, you'll have to play with some of the settings. It does support DLSS, and that's going to help give you extra frame rates on supported titles, so that's going to help. But, of course, I think the G14 may be a little bit better in some areas with that 5080, which is not that much more than this. So, you have to weigh what are the features that you're looking for. Of course, this has some pretty unique features like a haptic touchpad that supports pen. It has a touch screen, things that you don't get on the G14 that this has. That being said, there are some intangibles that are better on the G14, but we'll talk about that. The end of the day, though, I think the performance on this is certainly fine, and you can game on this, you can do creative work. I think this is, to me, really a hybrid laptop between creator laptop that's portable, as well as a gaming laptop that is portable. So again, the name of the game is portability, and the chassis here supports that, and it is pretty premium in terms of that chassis. I'm curious to know what you think about this. What do you think about this compared to, say, something like the Razer Blade 14 or the G14 from Acer? All right, when it comes to thermals, I didn't notice much thermal throttling on this, so that's been pretty good. And I also noticed the keyboard stayed relatively cool, even under load, so where you place your fingers was pretty comfortable. Underside never really overheated either. The two fans are pretty nicely sized, by the way. There is vapor chamber. That's going to help with the cooling, and that did keep the underside relatively cool as well, even under heavy load. Now, when you're in the balance mode doing everyday tasks like Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, it was not an issue in terms of that. Now let's talk fan noise. You definitely will notice the fans 52, 53 decibels in the turbo mode. Performance mode maybe come down a little bit from that, but it is certainly noticeable when you are pushing this to the limit in such a thin and light chassis. You're going to hear the fans ramp up. Now, when you're doing everyday tasks, the fan noise was really not much of an issue. That has been pretty good. And that's pretty much of a hallmark of a Lunar Lake. Pretty good efficiency, although we'll talk battery life, where I'm a little disappointed, as we'll get into in just a moment. But as far as the thermals are concerned, nothing too alarming here. And again, expect some fan noise when put in the turbo or the performance mode. All right, let's talk battery, and this has a 76 watt-hour battery, and I'm going to be honest with you, I was hoping for more on this, especially with Lunar Lake, but, you know, there are too many factors here that I think played into this that didn't give it the great battery life. Having the discrete GPU didn't help, having the 120 hertz OLED, but that shouldn't be as much of an issue. I got about 7 or so hours on the PC Mark X Modern Office test, and I got about 8.5 hours or so on video playback, which is middling, so-so. It's definitely better in some ways than some of its competition, but really I was hoping more with Lunar Lake. Maybe I had false expectations or really unrealistic expectations, considering this is a combination between CPU and a dedicated GPU. Maybe that's just me, but that's what you can expect here. About 7 to 8 hours, I think, of mixed use. Of course, it all depends on what exactly you're going to use this for. And they do supply you with a 140 watt compact charger. It's pretty compact, so it's pretty travel friendly, and it's USB Type-C. I love that. And I love the fact that we have 2 USB-C ports that are full function, one on each side. So it's very convenient for plugging in, having it on one on each side. So that has been good. And again, I like the fact that it is a pretty travel-friendly power charger. Now, as you can see, the lighting is even on the bottom there as it was lit up. I'm going to remove the cover here, but that's pretty nice little touch with that lighting there. Now, if you do remove that screw, it says you'll avoid the warranty. So just be careful. I wanted to point that out. I'm about to avoid it. Of course, this is a review unit sent by Acer, so I'm not really too concerned about that. So let me just peel that away and get to that screw there. So not a big deal for me, but if you were to buy this, just keep in mind that if you wanted to upgrade it, it might actually void your warranty. But check with them, call them if you have any questions, but I would want to tell you, just be careful. All right, so there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 T5 Torx screws. So let's remove those. So the front ones are actually smaller than the ones on the middle and the back there. All right, so those have been removed. Let's see how easy it is to take off the plate. I didn't even need a pry tool or anything like that. So pretty easy there. Boom, and you're in. So there is the internals here. Let me give you a good look at it. And as you can see, full-size 2280 SSD. And as you can see, reads and writes are actually pretty good on this, right? And then that's upgradable. Wi-Fi card is slotted in, so that's upgradable as well. Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth here. That's good. RAM, of course, is going to be integrated into the system on a chip. I wanted to say soldered, but not with Lunar Lake. That is a system on a chip memory, and that is 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is the maximum you can go with Lunar Lake. So not a limitation set by Acer, so just keep that in mind. And that is the fast RAM. 2 nice size fans here for cooling, and a battery here, which of course is 74 watt hours, and a 76 watt hour battery here. So we'll get into that in a moment. Overall, pretty good. Nice speakers there. Again, has 6 speakers in total on this. So let me know what you think in the comments section below. All right, now one thing you'll notice here is this logo lights up, and pretty nice touch there. You could customize all this all you want. You could also see the RGB backlighting on the keyboard, and then of course the touchpad lights up when you start using it. The sides here, these bars light up, and that is to differentiate it. That's pretty good. Remember the Dell 14 Premium, the Dell 16 Premium? Some people complained there was no delineation where the haptic touchpad begins and ends. So that is not an issue here as far as I'm concerned. Again, like I said, the build here is really, really good. Now, this does have DTS audio. It has 6 speakers. It's good, not great. I was hoping for better out of this, and I did compared it, really, I should say, we're going to listen to in a moment, with the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14, which I think has better speakers. Actually, one of the better outputs in terms of speakers on a Windows laptop. I don't think they're MacBook quality, any of these, so just keep that in mind. MacBook Pro, I think, is the best, but that's just me. But now let's give them a listen, and you let me know what you think in the comments section below. G14. So this is the camera on the Acer Predator Triton 14 AI. It's a pretty long name, but a 1080p camera here. What do you think about the video quality, and what do you think about the audio quality? Now, this is an IR camera. That means you can log in with face recognition with Windows Hello, and it has all the studio effects. You have the background blurs and all that, auto framing. Let's take a look at that standard blur. And then, of course, here is the portrait blur. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And this is the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14. What do you think about the video? What do you think about the audio? This is also an IR camera. How does it compare to the Acer Predator Triton 14 AI? Let me know in the comments section below. All right, let's talk pricing here. And as you can see, the price here is $24.99 according to Acer over on their website. And of course, that's as configured here today with the Intel Core Ultra 9 288V with the RTX 5070. So that is the same, obviously 14.5-inch display, 2880 by 1800, 16:10 aspect ratio, 120 hertz display, multi-touch as well. So $2,500. Well, you can also go over to Best Buy and check out some of its competitors. And as you can see, the G14 comes in at $23.99 for the one with the 5070 Ti. Of course, the 5080 with 2 terabytes is going to be more expensive. So this will compete, I guess, with the 5070 Ti. Now, keep in mind that the G14 is going to have more performance with the Strix Point, the Ryzen AI 9 HX370 with the 5070 Ti. And if you go with the 5080, that's obvious. You're going to get more out of that. But I think the sweet spot for that one is the 5070 Ti. Here you're getting $2,500 for not as much performance, let's be honest. But you are getting some unique features like a haptic touchpad with pen support. You're getting a multi-touch layer on the display. It is OLED as well. It is also 120 hertz. So there are some similarities, but there are some key differences between the two. But $2,500 is what we'd expect for something in this range, 14-inch hybrid, like creator laptop / gaming laptop. So I think this pretty much nails it in that sense. But yeah, it is expensive and not too surprising here for 2025. Okay, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Acer Predator Triton 14 AI here for 2025? I have to wonder why this came out so late. If we would have saw this maybe 6 months ago to a year, I think we would be talking about one of the best laptops because of its unique features. But the fact of the matter is, the battery life on this was not as what I was hoping in terms of a Lunar Lake laptop. Certainly middling at best at that, but not bad. But just when you think about Lunar Lake, now when you compare it to other 14-inch gaming laptops, it's certainly very good, maybe above average actually. So that's been pretty good. Performance is what you'd expect. Single multi-core is what you expect with Lunar Lake. So don't expect to be a speed demon in that regard. But the big boost you're going to get is from the graphics, having the RTX 5070, 110 watts. It's certainly better than something like the Dell 14 Premium, which limited that graphics card heavily, the 4050 on that one, which is a much weaker graphics card. This is much better. This is actually capable of gaming, whereas that one, not so much. That's more of a graphics boost. This really is more legitimate. And I really think that this is very good in that regard. I like the keyboard. I love the lighting on it that you can control. It's very comfortable for typing out documents and so forth. Love the haptic touchpad here. Did really well, although I had a couple of issues of inadvertent clicks. So maybe they can fix that with the settings or whatever. I have to investigate that more, but it's still an excellent haptic touchpad for scrolling and doing all your gestures. The sound is actually pretty good. Again, 6 speakers, DTS audio. I was hoping for more. But it was good, not great. I think the G14 had better sound out of the speakers, but that's just me. But you let me know what you think in the comment section below. Great port selection here, although I'd like to see 2 Thunderbolt 4, maybe even Thunderbolt 5 on this. We don't get that. Again, Lunar Lake here, it's a little bit of, I don't want to say it's dated because it's not, but we are moving towards Panther Lake. I can't help but wonder what Panther Lake would look like on this, or maybe even put something like the Strix Halo on this. Maybe that might be the way to go. I don't know. Those are just some suggestions that I could throw out there. Acer, I hope you're listening, but Lunar Lake's perfectly fine. Here's the other problem that I potentially see here. At the full price, $2,500, it's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you can get the G14 for a little bit less money and better performance, especially when those run on sale. So it's hard for me to say that this would be better than the G14. And the Razer Blade, you can actually get on sale, believe it or not. I'll put the latest pricing. That does fluctuate. I'll put it in the description below, so you make the decision there. But I think if you can get this on sale, this might be even a steal, depending how much it would go on sale, maybe for the holidays. I just think the late release here, the end of the cycle, we're already in Q4. This should have come out, in my opinion, sometime in Q1 or Q2. We would have a different conversation here. But I do recommend it if you can get it on sale. And that would be my final thoughts here. But of course, let me know what you think in the comment section below.